Hello and welcome if I am live. So as usual, please someone just give me a indication of the sound. Are we doing okay for sound? We should be, we should have some nice relaxing music, but I should be a bit louder than the music just so you can hear me. So do let me know how it is. And I'll try and get it up here. Yes. Okay, Leon says sound is good. Okay, so we have had Stella, Sarah, and Kida as well commenting in. Okay, so there was a lot of applications for the palm reading. I think we're beginning a fourth list now, okay? So it always goes first come, first serve. The people who are most in my community tab and in my Facebook are going to be first because they're looking out for the posts and they're commenting on them. I usually have around 12 people per stream, and with this one it's been particularly interesting but taken a long time to research, so 12 people is enough for me for these streams at the moment. So everyone get to go. But yes, Kida, Sarah and Stella are both on the next stream. If you are not booked onto the stream, you will not get a reading. It is pre-book. It's pre-book for the stream. You have to send in your palms and I have to kind of analyse them, write up a little bit about them. So I have my own Word document here where I've written up about the streams. About the palms. So if you are not on the list and you weren't on the list for today, you will not get a reading today. But I'm beginning the fourth list, so do comment on my community tab post. So we have a community tab post now that says palm reading will be a regular stream. The next two streams are full. It books up very quickly, it did. So subscribe and comment below on the community tab post, and you'll be added to the next one. So probably going to do 2 of these a month because they're quite busy. So if you book onto that one, you'll probably get your reading in the beginning of November now. I'm very sorry, but they do book up quickly. But they're free readings, so you know how it goes. But do comment on that community tab if you want to be added. Everyone's welcome. It's just that I do split these up into groups of 12, basically. So for you guys who are on today, we do have a few of you in. We have Aries, Woo, Miss Venus, and Shweta, and Luna. So yes, that's great that we have a few of you in already. That's wonderful. So it will be Sid here as well. Wonderful. Okay. So, and Kevin. Okay, we have like almost half in. So that's really great. This is kind of my practice stream. So I'm really hoping it goes very well. And I found out a lot about you guys' palms, so very, very interesting. Really looking forward to this. I'm glad everyone is in quite early, and I will just talk over. So I've written up everything I'm going to say. It's my own Word document, and it's all about you guys' palms. So, okay, in a full reading, it's very important to look at both hands, front, back, and sides. In this sample reading, I will pick out a few interesting lines or traits on each person's hand. It may be beneficial to also watch the other readings, as a lot of you have similar lines and traits. So you may learn more about your own palm from listening to others. Okay, so a lot of you did have very similar palms and lines, but I didn't keep repeating what each line meant for each person. So it would benefit you most to listen to the whole stream. It's not going to be too long. There's only 12 palms and there's about 3 points for each palm. Yeah, so it would benefit you to listen to each one and to stay present in the stream. I will at times mention you in others' readings if you very clearly possess the same traits. So stick around for the whole video, as you may get more detailed and rounded of a reading. Yes, so like I said, there are some traits that you very clearly have similar, and I have stated that. in. So it might be, say, Kevin's reading, but I might say, oh, this is similar to Woo. So I may compare and contrast, and if you stay for the whole stream, you'll get a more rounded reading of your own palm. Okay, so let's see where I'm up to now. Okay, so palm reading gives insight into personality as well as future. So a lot of the lines and mounts do show personality traits as well. But some of you do have very clear future or life path events in your palms too. So I did find some of you with very clear life path events in your palms. But there is a lot of personality that comes through, so just be wary of that. And it would be interesting to get some feedback from you. So if I give certain ages that things happened, or if I give perhaps traits, you could say, oh yeah, that sounds like me, or oh no, that doesn't really sound like me. Okay, so these are some beliefs about palm reading. So some believe that the non-dominant hand shows natural personality and character, and the dominant hand shows how we are utilising our potential in this lifetime. So some of you may have noticed I did ask which hand you use to write with, which hand is your more dominant hand. I asked a few of you. Throughout this, I may have more of you to ask, but I did ask quite a few of you, but then when I got really into it and really dug in, didn't have time to ask everyone. Some believe that your dominant hand is thought to tell the present and the future, opportunities, challenges and limitations, where you are and where you're going in your life. And the non-dominant hand is said to show the past or reveal your inherent characteristics, personality, innate ability and potential. Some say the left or the less dominant is what God gives you, and the right or the more dominant is what you do with it. So one could be your potential, one could be what you do with that potential throughout your lifetime. So one may have more stronger lines to read. Major differences between both hands, which I do see in a few of you, suggest the person has worked very hard on improving themselves in life. So where the less dominant hand will show their kind of potentials and what they can achieve, the right hand may be very different because it actually shows the paths that they take. Most people have a heart line. So we have a heart line, which is this line here, if you can see it on my hand. I did have the palm reading hand to show you guys, but the ring light doesn't let me show it very well. But this is the heart line here. So you have the heart line there, the very top one that kind of goes, you know, across the fingers, the base of the fingers. Then we have the head line, which is the next one down here. I hope you guys can see this clearly. The headline there, also show it on my hand. The headline, this one here going down, sometimes quite parallel in a way to the heart line. Okay, and then we have the lifeline. So the lifeline is that one that kind of hugs the bottom of the thumb there. Show it on my hand, just here, kind of hugs the bottom of the thumb there. Okay, they're the three lines that pretty much everyone has. There is some people who have a combined head and heart line. I thought at first that Mandy had that, but she doesn't, so that's for another stream maybe. But yes, I thought at first she had it. When I looked more in depth at her pictures, I realised she didn't. Then we also have the fate line. The fate line goes right up. If you can see, it's the one that goes right up there. I'll try and show you it on mine. I'll have to crease my hand a little bit because mine's very faint. It goes up there, okay? So I think it's... Yes, actually it is stronger on that hand. This is probably better for showing it. The one that's going straight down, that's the fate line. Do not be discouraged if you do not have a fate line, because the fate line, it does show fortune, it does show money and success, but some people who are self-made, self-employed and all of that, they don't have fate lines. So my fate line's quite faint, and that's very common with self-employed people. So don't worry if you don't have that line. It doesn't mean that you can't get success. It doesn't mean that you can't get money, basically. There's also the Apollo line. Now I can't show this because I don't have it and this hand doesn't have it. But the Apollo line will be kind of this, very similar to the fate line, but a bit further over. Apollo. It will be going pretty much from the ring finger and down. That's creativity. And then we have the health line, which is the Mercury line. That goes pretty much straight down from the little finger. Now, it's best not to have that line. That line indicates things that are negative about our health. And luckily, guys, none of you had that line, so that's perfectly fine. None of you had that line. So, as we go through, there are a few people where I may ask what your dominant hand is out of interest of the reading. So just be wary that I'll ask. We have Jan and Kevin both saying they use their right, so that's fine. Oh, and Sid as well. And Aries. So that's interesting because I think I'm looking at Aries' left hand, but it still tells a lot. I still learnt a lot from Aries' hand, so that's fine. So do we have everyone in from the list, I wonder? There is, there's 12 on the list, but as far as I can tell, there's only 10 in. So I'm hoping that, is Woo here? Oh yes, Woo's here. That's okay, that's good, because Woo's first, so at least we have Woo. Yes, the dummy hand. So I took a trip to Llandudno, which is in Wales, and I did post a vlog about it, so some of you may have seen it. But I bought this hand there when I was there. I saw it and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm learning palm reading, I'll have to get that. Because it says on the bottom, your fate is in your hands. So it's too, the ring light's too bright, but it says your fate is in your hands, and I really loved it that it said that. And everyone who is here, I have messaged you on Facebook, or wherever we talk. I think Jana might have messaged you on Etsy. I have messaged you with that picture, so I'll put it up now. So this is why I'm really close to the screen, because I have to do these pictures. I have to click them. So we have the hand map. There we go, covering my face. Every single person who is in here right now and who is on the list, I have sent you this picture to your inbox, whether it's on Etsy or it's on Facebook, okay? So every single person should have this. And the Apollo finger, which is the ring finger, at some points in this, I may call it the Venus finger. I also use these palm reading cards, and they do call it the Venus finger, okay? So I'm going to try to stick to calling it the Apollo finger. I believe that's more of a correct term, a more accurate term. But if I say Venus finger, I mean Apollo finger. So just look now at what the Apollo finger is. If you hear me say Venus finger, I do mean Apollo finger. But if I say Venus mount, I am talking about the mount that says there. I will never mistake the mount, okay? That's just for you to... Okay, thank you Aries for sending me the dominant one, but I can't... I've written everything up now, so I can't do any extra now. Yeah, I can't do any extra now because we are... That's why I asked for the palms in advance, because I'm learning myself. I think I've done quite well, to be honest, but I'm learning myself, and this is the whole point in these streams, is because I'm learning myself as well, and I did need the palms in advance. So, but I do thank you anyway. Very thankful anyway. So we're beginning with Woo. This will be a regular stream, so if you want to send in your right for another stream, that's fine. You guys have the first stream, so you guys have the kind of practice stream, but I have done very well and I've learned a lot, so don't worry. You should learn a lot from here. So that's okay, because Woo, you sent both hands. So we have Woo's hands here in the corner, we have Woo. So let's begin with the reading. And Leon, perhaps you can... Hello, Megha. Perhaps, Leon, you can put a little thing in the chat just saying, oh, I should have given you the list so you can say who's on the list, just in case anyone's late, because I don't just have the list on its own. Just bear with me a second. The list on its own. I'll just send this to Leon for a second. In fact, I'll just post it in... Oh, no. Can you copy it from the chat? No, I'll send it personally to Leon. This is the list, just in case you do want to put it in at any point, if anyone gets confused about where they are. But we have most people in. We have most people in. So, yeah, so try to stay for the whole stream, because a lot of you do have very similar lines. So it'll be interesting. And also, palm reading's good because... in person, because you can touch the mounds, you can see how firm they are, you can move the fingers about, there's a little bit more you can do when you're in person with palm. You can kind of just move it around as you wish and touch it and look at it. I couldn't do that with the pictures, and I didn't want to keep nagging people saying send this, send this, send this. So if you stay for the whole stream, you may learn more about your own palms, and especially the smaller lines as well. So let's begin. So we have Wu here. We have Wu. So if we look at Wu's hand, we have the lifeline. It ends quite fine on both sides. A fine line would suggest issues in health and vitality, especially if the dominant hand had a finer line than the other. However, these lines start out very defined and fade as they go out, and that is quite common. It can signify health becoming less vibrant in old age. It could be someone whose immune system weakens with old age, or begins to suffer more from the usual things, like arthritis. So if the lifeline fades towards the end, it's very normal, it's very common. It just shows that it's not always about physical health. The lifeline can be about physical health, but also about our vitality as well. So I don't know if I did explain what the actual lines mean, so let's just go back to the hand a second. My hand might be better. So okay, so I said that most people have a love line. This is the love line here. The love line is about the health of the heart, so it can show the health of the heart, but it's also about our emotional self. Then we have the headline, which begins here, the fingers, and come at between these two fingers here, and it comes down here, so the headline's second line underneath the heart. And it is about our cognitive abilities, our mental abilities, our mental capabilities. If someone has perhaps a mental breakdown or any kind of issue like that, they may see a disruption in that line at some point. In a full palm reading, you may age the hand. So you may say, like, this is 10 years old, 20 years old, 30 years old, and you may go along. And you can kind of predict, if you see a big gap in this headline, you may say you're going to have some troubles here with your mental health, or your focus, your something here. Same with the heart line. If there was a major gap somewhere, you may age it, roughly, and you may say around here you're going to have a major heartbreak. So when you're doing a full reading, you can tell things like that. The lifeline. The lifeline is the one, like I said, that hugs the thumb. And this does talk about, so with Wu's reading that I just began then, it's about physical health, but also enthusiasm for life, okay? And it records major life events. So like I said, when you're aging it, if you age a hand, you go from the line, and you do little lines up, 10, 20, 30, like that. It's always rough because you don't know exactly the age someone's going to die. But their lifeline here, that's the one that, like, you can see my lifeline at the end. It forks a little bit, okay? It forks a little bit there. So the lifeline shows physical health, enthusiasm for life, and records major life events. It's very common for the lifeline to fade towards the end, like Wu's. A lot of us do lose some energy and vitality towards the end of life. That's very normal. In fact, it probably shows that Wu's going to live a very long life, because when it fades at the end, it's like getting older, being kind of weaker and things like that. So yes, so just in case I didn't go too far over that, but let's get back to Wu. So It's very common. It's very common that can happen because, like I said, we lose our vitality as we get older. The lifeline of the right hand in Wu is actually more defined than the left. So if the right is her dominant hand, that can further suggest it being something that's manageable, okay? Something she can live with, something that's kind of underlying. So like arthritis. Some of us will get arthritis, muscle pains and all of that at the end of life. And if her right hand is her dominant hand and it's more vibrant, more deep, the line's more deep, then that does suggest that it's something manageable. It's something that it's underlying, it's in the subconscious, it's there, but she can manage and deal with it. So it does seem like it's just going to be something kind of old age related symptom. It doesn't look like anything major for Wu there. So, but that's kind of how the lifeline can go. So where the fading line on the left is something that perhaps is an issue but isn't being fully focused on or is manageable, like I said. So there's definitely just a kind of warning about her health as she gets older, but it's quite comforting to have that in your lifeline because it does kind of suggest that she's going to grow old, you know? So there doesn't seem to be any kind of... You're not really supposed to predict like death or anything with palm reading because you don't fully know. If you're reading a child's hand and they were going to die quite young, then the lifeline, you don't know that lifeline ends at, say, 30 or something. You don't know that. You just see the lifeline, you see that it fades at a certain point, and you kind of grasp what that might mean. It does seem like Wu is probably going to live a long life with that lifeline and just gradually have some issues, some normal issues in later life. Just showing how that can manifest on the hand. So the strong curved heart line. So she has a very strong heart line. If you can see, the heart line, like I said, is this line that kind of hugs the top fingers here. It's very strong. Wu's heart line is very strong. There's no denying that. It starts right between the index and the middle finger. This shows someone who has a very strong committed and romantic love. And it's predicted that this person finds a lasting love in maturity. So it looks like Wu finds her lasting love when she's a little bit older, okay? So this isn't someone who finds their love in high school or in their 20s, you know? It's a little bit later in life that this person finds their love, but it's a true and lasting love. That's what we can see from that. So, yes, so it's not necessarily someone who dates around or falls in love easily. So it doesn't look like Wu falls in love easily. It's a strong love that's very balanced and lasts forever. That's what we can see from Wu's love line or heart line. So love line, heart line, same thing. You may hear it told as that. I think the picture I sent you may not have lines on it. So if anyone is getting confused about lines and would like a line picture, do let me know. But the lines are quite simple. So we do begin with heart line, heart line very top, headline underneath it, and lifeline. So life, head, heart, life, head. And then the fate line's the very, the one that goes very halfway, halves the hand almost. And that one not everyone has. Like I said, not everyone has that. Don't worry if you don't have that. But yes, that's what we can learn from Wu so far. But now, looking at pictures isn't quite as accurate as in person, like I said. You can touch your hand, you can kind of bend it, see how firm, how flexible it is. It may be comfortable to hold a hand in a certain way when you're taking a picture. So some of you may just feel comfortable to hold your hand in certain ways as you're taking a picture. So it's not very accurate when I talk about gaps in hands. But, yeah, so the gaps may not be as pronounced as they seem in the picture. But if we look at Wu's left hand, we do see that there seems to be a gap between the first and second finger. If we can see, there's kind of a gap between those two fingers. Now, sometimes we naturally hold it, we may accentuate it a little bit, but it is natural where that gap is. So it looks like there's a bit of a gap there. And that indicates confidence and a good self-esteem. So this gap that she has here between these two fingers, the first and second, the index finger and the middle finger there, that gap indicates confidence and good self-esteem. So if you hold your hands naturally, just hold them naturally? Do you have any defined gaps between your fingers? They can tell a story as well. And this is where we see a few of you having the same traits here. So we have Wu, Jan, Kevin, Aries, Mandy, Sid, and Tamana. Okay, so a lot of you, about half of you guys, all have lifelines that touch the headline, like myself. So perhaps I can demonstrate here. Your headline, which is the second... Oh god, I can't do it. Your headline, which is that one there, second one, touches the other one. So can you see there where both my lines meet? They look like they're the same line at the beginning, but then they split into head and life. So a lot of you have that. So I will say again, Wu, Jan, Kevin, Aries, Mandy, Sid, and Tamana all have hands like that, where the beginning of the headline and the lifeline touch. This indicates that we are cautious. We tend to act before we think. Think before we act, sorry. We're cautious and we tend to think before we act. For me, that's correct. I do tend to think a little bit before I act. So I wonder if any of you find that resonates. So that's what we have for Wu's hand that really stood out. Wu, if you would like to stick around, there may be a few more things in other people's readings that stand out as well, because we have some people with the back of their hands reading the back of their hands and things like that. Yes, so Wu kind of confirms that she's been single for most of her life so far, and it does really show in the palm that you meet someone in maturity, you meet someone in older age, but it's a lasting connection. So it's nice when it resonates a lot. So next we have, I'll have to take Wu's hand off. That's why I'm so close to the screen. Taking Wu's hand off there. And remember, if your reading is done, feel free to stick around, because you may resonate with other readings. So now we are just getting Jan's hands up. So this is Jan, and Jan sent in quite a few. Okay, so our hands change over time. Weight gain or weight loss can change our hands. The lines on our hands can and do change over our lifetime, and our fingernails can also change over time. Sometimes due to our health, but sometimes, like in Jan's case here, by choice. So of course Jan has cut and painted her fingernails, and that's definitely her choice. But short fingernails usually indicate someone who can be active physically or have a fast-paced mind. So people who are very active, you may see it in people who are like artists, gardeners, you know, there's no reason for them to have long fingernails. They want to cut them short because they don't want dirt in them, they don't want paint in them. So someone who thinks a lot, who's always kind of on the go, can have quite short fingernails. Short fingernails, yeah, sorry. Someone who acts on impulse, is quick-tempered, or pushes themselves quite far in work. If you push yourself quite far in work, you may resonate and you may realise that you have short fingernails. So I think the most interesting thing about Jan's reading, those of you who say you have me on the big screen may see this more clearly than if anyone's watching on a phone. But I do find Jan's palms to be the most interesting here. The lines on the palms. So I was really looking for who had these, and I found them in Jan. So Jan has 4 very noticeable lines coming straight down from her fingers and in between her fingers, okay? So I know Aries has one as well, but she just has one. Lines coming very straight down from the fingers here. Very, very uncommon, I will say. They're very uncommon. On the right hand, she has one between, so this is where the little diagram I gave you guys may come in handy, where I talk about the Mercury mount and the Venus mount and all of that, okay? So I may just put it on screen just for now, just in case anyone didn't open it. The hand map, there we go. Okay, just in case anyone gets confused. So Jan has 4 very noticeable lines coming straight down from her fingers and in between her fingers. On the right, she has 1 between Mercury and Apollo, and between Apollo and Saturn, and also between Saturn and Jupiter. On the left, it's more directly beneath the Apollo finger on the Apollo mount than between the fingers. So it's more directly beneath the finger rather than between the fingers. These lines represent her chances of success and income, particularly indicating that she may have more than one source of income, or that she will redirect her career path to a more abundant path later in life. So it does suggest a switch up of job in the lifetime, particularly because she's going for a higher income. The line between the Apollo and Saturn particularly is more in depth. It points to struggle and hard work to achieve this income. So it's not something that just comes to her. It's struggle and hard work. But this line also suggests that she will have success between the ages of 28 and 35. So this is where there are some lines that are very specific and really do pinpoint a time frame in our life. So Jan will have success between the ages of 28 and 35. In a more in-depth reading, you could also then look at her fate line. The fate line, like I said, not everybody has it. And you could get more insight by looking at her fate line. It looks from these pictures that she doesn't have much of a fate line. Not having much of a fate line can sometimes suggest self-employment. So people who are self-made don't tend to have a very strong fate line. So it could suggest that Jan goes from an employed position to a self-employed position, and that's where she gets this bigger income from. But those lines are very interesting. I was very happy to find someone with those lines because they're so pinpointed to a time frame in life. So some of you may look at your hands now and realise that you have them. They can be very faint. So I'm looking at pictures, the lighting on every picture isn't great. You might notice that you have those lines. So let's just go back over what they were. It was... Oh no, I can't find it now. It was between Mercury and Apollo, a line, and between Apollo and Saturn, and also between Saturn and Jupiter. So if you find your diagram, you may notice you have a faint line like that too. I didn't see any on anyone else, but they can be quite faint. So I can't say for sure that you all don't have them. Some of them are quite faint. But Jan's reading gave quite an indication of time frame, so I thought that was very interesting. And I really like that. But as we go through, if anyone else does notice that they have a particular line that I didn't mention on theirs, and it was from another reading, do mention it. So now we have Sid, very beautifully decorated hands here. In Sid's pictures, we see a balance between all fingers, very even gaps as the palm is photographed. And this means they are friendly and trusting, with an independent outlook on life. Sid has quite oval-shaped fingernails, and this usually reflects someone who isn't impulsive. They might overthink, they may struggle to be assertive with others, and dislike or avoid confrontation. the mount of Venus is the part of the palm beneath the thumb. And we can have these straight horizontal lines that are called worry lines on there. So in case anyone has forgotten, I'll just point out on my hand. The mount of Venus is this part here. If you may have very faint lines, I was looking for someone who had them, and I could only see them on SIDS, but they are very faint, so you may have them and I may have missed it. So yes, so I said here, I tried to find. Wait, let me just start again just in case So the mount of Venus is the part of the palm beneath the thumb. We can have straight horizontal lines that are called worry lines on there. I have quite a lot of these on my hand. I tried to find an example within this group, and I could only see them. I could see them on both Sid and Shweta actually. They are very faint lines, so you may all have them. They may just be less noticeable in your pictures. The number of these lines can vary from a few to several hundred. I probably don't have several hundred, but I do have probably around 100 on mine. Mine are very faint, and it looks like Sid's are too, which shows, although there may be a lot of worry, it shouldn't have a profound or long-lasting impact on their life. It's when the worry lines cross or cause a break in the lifeline that it would be more concerning. Sid's worry lines do not cause a break in her lifeline. Some of them may cross, but they don't cause a break. Sid has a long thumb as it reaches the middle knuckle of the index finger. So a long thumb is considered a thumb that reaches the middle knuckle of the index finger. This suggests that they may feel more secure in a position of power, so they may seek self-employment or a higher position in the workplace. They feel much more secure when they can be somewhat in control of the situation. These people can worry when they aren't in control. It can rarely get to them. A long thumb can also suggest that they always have words of encouragement. So someone with a long thumb will always encourage you and be very, they'll big you up, they'll be your cheerleader. If someone is down, they will do their best to cheer them up. So yes, they may like to have a bit of control in the situation, but they're also empathetic. They're also very good at cheering you up. So Jan says, was very interesting. The quick temper made me laugh. It's kind of true when someone manages to do something that irritates me, but normally it does take quite a bit. Yeah, so it doesn't. There can be certain situations where it resonates and certain situations where it doesn't. And you may not totally resonate with your reading, but you should, in most ways you should, because palm reading, I have found palm reading to be quite accurate, perhaps you don't. So that was Sid's there. I think Sid does come up in a few other readings as well, like I said. Okay, so we're getting to, yes, like I said, stick around for the other readings if you want more of an in-depth reading and look at the lines on your hand. We're going to get to marriage lines, travel lines, and element hands now. So it may be interesting to stick around. So here we have a diagram of earth, fire, air, and water hands, okay? So these are the different hand shapes and what kind of hands we can have. And it's brought up because we have Luna's hand. So now I found this to be quite a good image explaining the different types of hands that originate from Chinese palm reading: earth, fire, air, and water. Perhaps look and see which hand you think you have. So if you would like to, comment which hand you think you have out of these. This doesn't correspond with our astrological chart, okay? In fact, you may notice your hand element is the complete opposite of your star sign element. So don't be worrying too much about your, I'm an air sign, so I must be an air hand. That's not the case. I bring this up here because Luna seems to me to have a water hand. Water hands are long and oval shaped, and the traits that they are said to have are intuitive, perspicacious, sympathetic, imaginative, creative, and introverted. Emotional and fragile people. People with water hands feel quite easily hurt, so they may be a little bit sensitive because they're very empathetic, so they may get easily hurt. They love beautiful things like art very much, so they may feel a very emotional connection to some types of art as well. But they are flexible and they can easily adapt to change as well, so they're very easily adaptable, so it is quite a good trait. Kevin says, I think I have an air hand. So let's look. We'll see when we see Kevin's hand if we think he has an air hand. So, if we see Luna's left hand, the Saturn finger, which is the middle finger, has a curve at the end. And this can suggest that her home and belongings are very important to her. And in some cases, people with a curve on that Saturn finger, that middle finger, can be hoarders or collectors. They also tend to find great value in things that make them feel secure. So this could be someone who's very, they love being in their own home, you know, they feel safe and secure, something like that. Or they just seek to have safety and security in their life. Luna has quite a small gap between her love and headline. So the love and headline, like I said, we have the, I feel like I don't remember. No, the love and headline here. Sorry. Oh no, sorry, I've written that wrong. Luna has quite a small gap between her head and lifeline. So like I said before, my head and lifeline are connected at the end. You see, they go into one. Luna's don't quite go into one, but there's a very small gap. So the size of the gap between your head and your lifeline indicates how outspoken you are. So Miss Venus also has quite a small gap. She does have a gap, but it's very small, and a few more of you. So the wider the gap, the more outspoken and impulsive you are. So this would indicate that Luna and Miss Venus, who we'll come to in a little bit, can be a little outspoken and impulsive, but not greatly. So there's a little bit of outspokenness, impulsiveness, but it's not too great. It's not too great. Yeah, so Miss Venus is quite similar with those two lines. They don't touch, like mine here. There's a bit of a gap in Luna and Miss Venus, but it's not too big. In fact, Miss Venus is very, very close, almost touches. But she would probably be more outspoken and more impulsive than me, perhaps. Could be the case. So let's see who's next. We have Kevin. We have Kevin next. Okay. So here are Kevin's hands. Now, I would like anyone who is in the chat, what do you think? So we had the... Let's go back to our little hand signs. I'll move it over a little bit. What does everyone think Kevin's hand is? Kevin thinks he's an air hand. Does anybody agree with Kevin's hand? I'll just wait for a second. I am behind in the chat. So Miss Venus says, interesting, I'm actually the total opposite of impulsiveness. I used to be a scaredy cat, but I've worked on it, and I'm a bit more outspoken, but never impulsive. Okay, that's interesting. You could have impulse or outspoken. It doesn't necessarily have to be both. But it's interesting that Miss Venus says that. We'll get to Miss Venus's hand in a little bit, but her gap is very, very small. In fact, when I first looked at it, I thought they both joined. So it's interesting that you said that. And also, Miss Venus's hands are a little bit different as well. And when they're a bit different, it shows that you've worked on yourself. So that makes a lot of sense. So I wonder if anyone agrees about Kevin's hand. Do we think Kevin is an air hand? Do we think? You're very welcome, Luna, and you're very welcome to stick around and see if you resonate with any of the other things. Like I said, I've only picked 2 or 3 traits from each hand, but a lot of you have very similar traits. So if you want to stick around to hear the other readings, you may notice about some lines on your own hand. You may want to look at them and see if it resonates. Okay, so you have no guesses? No guesses about Kevin's hand? No guesses? Okay. So, Kevin said, I would tend to agree. Looks more like the air hand. Not quite a earth hand. Not quite as big, wide, as an air hand. As an earth hand, sorry. Leon has an earth hand. I did a palm reading on Leon as practice, and he does have an earth hand. But yes, and I would agree with Kevin. I would agree with that. Okay, so let's go into Kevin's reading. So, Kevin has an average length Jupiter finger, which is the index finger, okay? So Kevin has a average length Jupiter finger because it's about the same length as his ring finger. This suggests he may prefer to be in control of situations. He is unique in his self-expression, and he may have a very unique style. He is definitely not dull or boring. Kevin clearly has money lines on both palms, although on his right, so remember the money line's the faint one that goes right directly central. So although on his right it's very faint, but it does continue up most of the palm. On the left it's much more broken. And on both palms, it passes the 3 major lines, the life, the head, and the heart. This suggests that there are many opportunities available to Kevin, and that influence of his other life areas, such as love life and other desires like travel, have the capability to change his career direction. He could value other areas of his life, such as travel and love, more than career, and could be open to changing career due to his desire to change location or to follow a love interest in their life path. Although the faint line breaks, there are no large gaps, which does suggest he won't have much trouble changing jobs or won't have huge gaps in work that are against his will, but does show great opportunities working for others, so being employed by someone rather than the self-employment we mentioned with the people who don't have faint lines, yes, money lines. Further along the palm is actually where it stopped. Sorry guys. If we look at his left hand, the faint line does have a big gap horizontally, but it starts again further along the palm, and that's actually where it stopped just further along. So what I'm saying is, his line goes up, and then there is a gap, but the gap is horizontal. So where the faint line, how to best describe this? I was going to get a pen so I could draw. There's an interesting sign on one of your hands that I will have to draw. So Kevin's faint line, it kind of goes, you may be able to see from the picture, but he has a line like this. Like that. And then he has another one like that. So we'll see, there's a big gap, but there's no there's no gap this way, it's only this way, which, like I said, it suggests him not having a huge gap out of employment. So it's like he could go from one job to a complete opposite job, but there isn't a huge time frame gap because the gap isn't this way, it's that way. So I hope that makes sense to you. I hope that makes sense. But yes, so Kevin's gap, it does suggest more like he will go to a new location or in a new direction, but not that he will have a big gap in his employment. It seems like getting employment in different areas will be very easy for Kevin. It'll be very easy. So just so I can do the mystery cross later on. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. I mucked that up a little bit there, but I hope that does make sense. So there's definitely a change in career. So that gap that went across, it definitely shows a change in career, but no gap in work. So it could be that as he's working, he's training in something else, and he gets a job in that other thing straight away. You know, so it does seem like any gaps in Kevin's career will be purposeful, like by his own choice. It could even be that he leaves education and goes into work, like I said. So Miss Venus, Wu and Kevin have the strongest heart lines. So the heart line, like I said, it's the line that kind of hugs those fingers there. And Miss Venus, Wu and Kevin have the strongest, most in-depth lines there. Sid says, I may have to watch some of this back as I can't stay long. Oh, I'm really sorry to hear that, Sid, but it's definitely possible to watch it back. There's no worry with watching it back. You just can't ask questions then, but that's fine. So the heart line. So you three, Miss Venus, Wu and Kevin, have the strongest and most deepest heart lines. They are defined and deep, and this suggests that family or home life are very important to you. They have deep ties and connections with at least a few of their family members. So there may just be one or two family members, but it's a very deep connection to them. It could even be people that you consider family, but it does seem to be people that you've known for a long time. So it could be like friends of the family that you really consider family or something like that. But it usually means family. They may create very deep connections easily, and may be the type of people who have lifelong friends or a very close and trusted circle. So Miss Venus, Wu and Kevin, they may very easily create very deep connections, and they will have lifelong friends. Risha says, hey ma'am, it's 1:20 a.m. in India right now, and I have college tomorrow. So if you can share the timestamp, that will be, I would be really thankful. Okay, so I'm just going to write that because I will definitely forget it. I didn't have my scrap paper with me. Timestamp for Risha. Timestamp for Risha. I wonder if Leon can just... Is Leon still here? I don't know. So... I think there's like a few bits of paper. Oh no. I'll write it here. Okay. So we will have timestamp for Risha. So sorry guys for getting up and making that noise. Just remind myself here. Okay. Yeah, for this stream it's totally okay to have timestamps, but watching the whole stream I do think gives a more holistic reading. Like I just mentioned there, I was talking about Kevin, but I mentioned Wu and Miss Venus as well. So you may come up in someone else's reading, that's all. So soon I will be offering full readings, full palm readings, but this is kind of practice and a little sample test. If I was to give you all a full reading, we'd just be here for far too long. So we won't do that, but here's Shweta, so Shweta. So I was looking for this, and I'm glad I found it on one of your hands. I also have this. So my camera probably isn't good enough, but I'm going to just draw over where I have it. And I honestly do have it. I'll take a clearer picture if anyone doesn't believe me. It's quite a faint line. I actually have it on both hands. I couldn't see it on both of Shweta's hands, and it's a very faint line. So if any of you have it, and I've just missed it because the pictures aren't too clear, I would be interested to know, okay? So Shweta has the mystery cross on her left hand. So I don't know if you can see here, Shweta's left hand, which is the very end one here, in between her heart and head, that one there, she has this cross. So this is what Shweta has. I was glad that one of you had it and I could find it. But it would be interesting if you guys checked, just in case you do have it as well. It's called the Mystery Cross. You can see it there. I've obviously gone over it in pen, but I do have it. That's where mine is. So it's on her left hand, and it's showing a strong connection to or interest in philosophy, metaphysical things, spirituality, and religion. These people can sometimes be healers, light workers, or even psychics or mediums themselves. So Shweta, are you thinking of going into any of these realms? But with this only being on the left, if this is Shweta's less dominant hand, it could indicate that this is unrealised potential. So like we said, some people say the less dominant hand is the potential that you have, and the right hand is what you do with it. The less dominant hand is what the gods give you, and the dominant hand is what you do with it. So wonder if Shweta is right-handed, and it's only on her left because she hasn't realised it yet. It's unrealised. She has the ability to uncover it, but may have issues, blocks, or even just that she hasn't yet seeked or sought to uncover it. So she just may not have kind of went down that avenue, went down that realm yet. It does tend to be a quite faint mark. So like I said, I'd be interested to know if anyone else does have it. Just check your hands where I have drawn the symbol. Can you see it? Just check your hands, and if you do have it, let me know, because the pictures aren't too clear. If it's too overexposed, the small lines won't show, and then if it's too dark, it might be difficult to kind of see. I do understand it's easier to palm read in person, but we are doing this online. Does anyone have this cross on their hand? Okay, so Miss Venus and Kevin both say they have it. Okay, so that's very interesting. So continue with Shweta's reading for now, but I am going to zoom in to Kevin and Shweta just to see if I can see it, because... sorry, Kevin and Miss Venus. I was really looking for it to try and find it, and I only found it on Shweta and Shweta's left hand. It's a bit more clear on her hand. So... on the left hand as well, on Shweta's left hand, she has the rebellion line just underneath her heart line on the pinky finger side. So on her left hand, just underneath the pinky, on her pinky finger side. This is the pinky finger side. Sorry, guys. So the pinky finger side, just underneath her pinky, she has the rebellion. Sorry, just underneath her heart line. Oh my gosh, I'm going to start that again. So on her left hand, she has the rebellion line just underneath her heart line on the pinky finger side. So I don't know if you can see it in such a small picture, but she does have it, the rebellion line. It's very faint and only on the left hand. Shweta, let us know in the chat what is your dominant hand? What's your dominant hand? I think you told me, but I don't seem to have it written. But because the rebellion line, actually, sometimes when this line is thick, okay, so Shweta's isn't thick, and when it's on the dominant hand. So when it's thick and on the dominant hand, it shows someone who's unfavourable to the community, perhaps a criminal. But when on the less dominant hand, or when it's very faint, like Shweta's, it suggests a free thinker, someone who doesn't conform just because they're supposed to. So this person they have traits of being a leader. They're a free thinker, they aren't too much of a follower. It doesn't mean they can't follow, but they have leader traits, okay? And this may be someone who needs to get out of a controlling situation at one stage in their life as well. So when it's faint or it's on your less dominant hand, it does show that you may have had a controlling situation at one point in your life, and your lesson was to get out of the controlling situation. So with Shweta, it's faint. We don't see that she's a criminal, okay? But she may be a free thinker, she may be a little bit of a leader, and she may have a period of her life where she needs to get out of a controlling situation. Okay? And we talk about gaps. In Wu's reading, we spoke about gaps. And here, we see someone who sends a photo holding all of their fingers together. So, like I said, in a picture, that may just feel most comfortable. But you're thinking, I'm getting a palm reading, how should I kind of take a picture? You choose to send your palms like this, and not like this. It does suggest that you may be quite cautious and quite reserved. You may be a little bit of a reserved person. You may be a bit cautious of things, which isn't a bad thing. We see on both hands a very defined line between the Mercury and Apollo. So that's the little finger and the ring finger, okay? So we see quite a defined line. I'm just going to start drawing on my hand, it might be easier. We see quite a defined line between these two fingers. And also we see, I think you can see that, can't you, on her left hand, I believe, just there. And she also has the mounds. So the mounds are the fleshy bits beneath the fingers. So she has raised mounds here. So that is, let's just get the hand picture up again. Hand map. So we have the Mercury mound and the Apollo mound. She has a very defined mounds, and also a line between them as well, like I have here. And she has quite defined mounds. This suggests someone who is capable of succeeding in business. So this person's capable of succeeding in business. She has a line here and very defined mounds. The defined mounds are also interesting. So when you do a palm reading a person, you kind of push the mounds, you kind of press them, see how firm they are and things like that. I'm not even showing my hand. So yeah, the mounds here, quite pronounced, and the line there. So that does suggest she's very capable of succeeding in business. Okay, and Shweta confirms for us that she's right-hand dominant. So she's definitely not a criminal. It definitely shows a free thinker and someone who is may have to get out of a controlling situation at some point in their life. So Shweta's headline, so the headline, like I said, the headline is this one. Just under, the middle one basically, the middle main one, just underneath the heart at the top, and the lifeline. So there's the lifeline, there's the heart line, and there's the headline there, the middle one there. So her headline is curved downwards, which is quite similar to mine. So like I said, so we see mine there. My headline, it's very, very curved downwards. The end of my headline is a bit faint, so it might be difficult online to see it, but it goes like this, and then it points very downwards, it curves quite down. This suggests that she is imaginative and creative. She may be distracted from the mundane things in life quite often, which I don't know about Shweta, but that's very true for me. Okay, so when I was reading this, Leon was doing washing, and I was thinking, yes, I'm like way away, like in the astral realm, like talking to fairies, and Leon is doing the washing and being a great partner, doing all those mundane things, which I'm not saying I don't do, you know, I do clean every now and then and things like that, but I'm definitely someone who's very distracted from the mundane. I much prefer to be like doing this palm reading than washing up, so maybe that's true for Shrita as well, I don't know. Her mind may often be preoccupied by something more creative, more fun, or more spiritual. So you may find that it's quite difficult to focus on those mundane things, and you may do them quite quickly in the, you know, in the habit of kind of trying to get back to your creative thing, your spiritual thing, and all of that. It's very true for me, may not be true for Shrita. But she does say 100% to the previous things I'd said, so at least we do have some resonance with Shrita about her hand. So let's go to Aries now. Oh yes, I think I just had one from Aries. One side at the time. So let's just see if we can make Aries a bit bigger there. And let's get back up. Let's get the hand map back. Oh no, that's the wrong one. Not the hand map, sorry. Let's get the elements hands back up. Okay, so we know that Luna is a water hand and Kevin is an air hand. What hand do we think the Aries is? This is actually a different picture than the Aries initially sent me. So let me just see. No, I don't have Aries' other picture. I saw Aries as a fire hand. Okay, this is Aries' right hand. Okay, it looks like a left hand. It must be... Oh no, right hand, yes. Let me just see if I can get Aries' left hand here, because you might be able to see what I was looking at. If I can find it. You might be able to see what I was looking at when I kind of theorised that she was a fire hand. Well, we'll see. We'll see if... Oh no, I can't get it up. The other hand she sent seems more like a fire hand. Okay, so we have someone thinks she's air and someone thinks she's water. Now the other picture, I actually think the other picture is still her left hand. She'll have to tell me. Let's see if we can... Oh, I know I can't... here we go. This is the image I originally had, and this is why I theorised fire hand. So that looks like a fire hand to me. Definitely not an air hand. It's definitely not big enough to be an air hand. But I really thought that was a fire hand when she sent that. I'm not sure if that's still right. I know sometimes images flip, like depending on which camera you use. But I did find some interesting things about Aries' hand either way. So Aries may like to dispute what type of hand she is, and that's fine because she can see her hands up close and personal, so she will know best. But I thought she was a fire hand when I saw the original picture, which is this one on this side. Let me just move it around. This one. So when I originally saw that one, I thought she was a fire hand. So we have, it's kind of in a way kind of square, rectangular shaped in the centre. The fingers are a little bit short, so they're not like super short or anything, but they are a little bit short. Usually around the same size as the palm, maybe a little bit shorter than the palm. And the traits of a fire hand are energetic, smart, diligent, extroverted, optimistic, and self-confident. loving adventure and a colourful life. So that's what I found with Aries' hand, thinking she was a fire hand. But if Aries does disagree, you can always reset to other types of hands. You guys can see your hands up close. I'm totally okay with being wrong based on the pictures. But I did think she was a fire hand, and I did think that I do believe that she's smart and diligent and optimistic, self-confident, energetic, and perhaps a little bit extroverted. I'm not really sure about that because I don't see Aries in person. But I do feel from Aries' energy as her being completely introverted. I don't feel someone who's like shy or anything like that. So you know, perhaps it is a fire hand, which I feel that it is from that picture that I just showed. So yes, loving adventure and colourful life as well, which I do believe she does. So there's some other interesting things about Aries' hand, whether you agree with me on fire hand or not. The love line is very straight, okay? So it's very straight. If you just look at it, the love line, the very first one, it's very, very straight. You can see mine goes, oh my gosh. I'm so like, because I'm looking at myself in there and it's the opposite. If you see mine, it's very curved, a very curved line there. But Aries is quite straight. It's quite straight. It's cutting across the palm, almost parallel to her headline. So of course her headline does bend down a little bit like most of them, but it's almost parallel to her headline. This means she is brave and again usually very outgoing, so it resonates with the fire hand traits of being outgoing but brave as well. She has braveness. There is some slight feathering at the beginning of her love line, which suggests great romantic passion. She knows what she wants in love. She's committed, straightforward, and loyal. There's a very defined marriage line as well. So I was looking for, I might have to get the other picture up because it's a little bit clear. So the marriage lines, I'll go over them now. But I might put her other picture up just so you can see the marriage lines, so you can really understand the marriage lines. Yeah, it's quite defined there. They're defined on both of them. So although the marriage lines are also known as union lines, okay, so they don't necessarily suggest marriage or even romantic partnership. They actually show the amount of very important relationships throughout your life besides your family. So I'll now show where the union or marriage lines are on my own hand. So this, if we look at I might just draw them on for the next stream, it might be easier. But that is my heart line, like I've been talking about. But if we turn to the side, say my heart line goes, oh, I flicked it up a little bit too much there, but that's what, if my heart line was to carry on, that's where it would go. The union lines, I have two here. So there you go. I have two. There's the natural line of my little finger. So at the top, we have the natural line of my little finger. At the bottom, we have the natural, where my heart line will go if it carried on. Now I have two other lines. They're my two union lines or marriage lines. So your lifespan goes from the bottom of your heart line up here. So how far up your union line is shows roughly how far into your life you meet this person. Now, none of us know exactly the age we die, so we can't be 100% sure of that. But if you really feel you know the first person, you may have an indication, an estimate maybe, a bit scary, but you might do. So they're the marriage lines. Now, when you have two like me, yes, one of them could be a romantic partnership, it could be. But this would tend to say two very important unions in my life who aren't family. So it could be a partner, and one could be, let's say, a business partnership, Let's say one's Leon, let's say one's a business partnership I get into in the future, let's just say, for example. That's just an example that they aren't always marriage lines as they're thought to be. I'm going to draw the same, what I have on the other hand. So again, the top and bottom line, the bottom of my little finger, and the bottom of my heart line if it were to continue to curve. So what they say is when you have one on one hand, that's your union, that's your romantic union. So that one on that hand, we could say that's Leon because there's only one. That's your romantic union, that's your marriage line. These two are different partners that you're going to, not partners, sorry, different relationships. So a work relationship, a friendship maybe, important unions that aren't the partner. If you have one on one side, like I do, and also like Aries does, that suggests a long-lasted and committed union. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you have marriage, that you get married, you know, if your partner doesn't believe in marriage. But it does mean a romantic union that lasts, that spans the lifetime. So Aries seems to only have one. So it does seem like Aries will have a long-lasting relationship that will last into old age because she only has one. It looks actually like she only has one on each side. So that could just strictly indicate that marriage, that union. It could be one's the marriage, one's a very important friend. We don't know. But we do know that they represent very important unions. So you may notice that you have one on one hand and two or three on the other. The side with the one, like I said, is representing the marriage or the lasting union, and the other side is showing two important connections in your life, perhaps not romantic. So they can be romantic. You may have an ex. You know, if you have an ex that really changed your life and was really like important to your life path, of course they can be there. Just because they're your ex and you get over them doesn't mean that they can't be, you know, set on the path, set into your life. You may have a very important ex. It's not up to me or to any other reader to tell you who those people are. But what we can say is if there's one on one hand, it's very likely that one soulmate, that one person that you end up with. Hello, Kidda! Hello! Kidda says, I'm so happy to be part of this community. It brings hope and peace. Kidda, I don't think that you're on this list, are you? Let me just double check. Yes, I believe you're on the next one. The next one will be scheduled today. After the stream, it will be scheduled. Yes, Kidda, you're on the second one. So you're not on this one, you're on the second one, but it will be scheduled today, so you'll see when it is today. And it might be better because I might be a bit more practiced in what I'm doing. But yes, Kidda, you're on the next one. And that'll be scheduled today. So do look out for it, and I'll let you know as well. I'll post it to you to let you know as well. So let's go to... We didn't do Miss Venus yet, did we? Am I getting confused here? Am I going the wrong way? Oh. So we've just done Aries. No, we're up to Miss Venus now. It's because she's been mentioned in another one. I'm thinking we've already done it. Right, okay. So Miss Venus, we have a couple of pictures here. So... Abby says I'm on the third one. Yes, Abby, where did you ask? Abby, did you only just ask in the stream? Because let me just make sure. Yes, you should be on the third one. Let me just add you. Yeah. Yes, Abby, you're on the third one. They're all going to be very soon because this is a very popular one. There's probably going to be 4 of them. So the next one's going to be very soon. Oh, okay. So Miss Venus has the mystery cross as well. Very interesting. I'm not surprised by that. I'm not surprised by... Oh, did I not finish Aries one? Oh, sorry. I'm very sorry. I think I might have missed some of Aries. Sorry, Miss Venus. But I think I might have missed some of Aries here. Because she also has this line that we haven't... Well, we did see this line, actually. In, oh my gosh. It's because I have to click on and off these bloody pictures. Right, okay. There we go. So... what else we have? So I don't think we looked at everything from Aries. So I hope Aries is still here. The money line. So her money line. So we have the money line, like I said. I know I have my cross on now, but the money line or the fate line is the one that goes. It's pretty much directly straight down. Can you see that? Oh, I need like a Sharpie or something a bit thicker. But it's kind of like that one that's going straight down there. That's the fate line. The fate or money. Fate or money is the same thing. Mine isn't that defined as I've drawn it, but I'm just drawing it to show you. So her money line stops at the wisdom line. So the wisdom is the headline. I'll just draw them all on. So the headline. So Aries money line, that's my headline, how my headline goes. It's a bit different from some of you guys, but the Aries money line stops at the headline, so it doesn't carry on, and if it does, it's very faint. I couldn't see it. So this suggests all work endeavours are her choice, okay? So she may begin to realise throughout her life she has the upper hand in work endeavours, basically. You may stop working due to your own decision or have the ability to choose jobs and may be self-employed again. So we're seeing this a lot in you guys, is the faintness of the money line does suggest that you could be self-employed. Aries also has a line between her Saturn and Jupiter, okay? So referring back to our hand map, guys. So Aries has a line between her Saturn and Jupiter fingers. So it's not the heart line, it's different. She has a defined line here between her Saturn and Jupiter fingers, okay? And I did notice that on both of the pictures. So if they were both different hands, it affirms it even more, okay? So this suggests that she could make money from a foreign country. So sometimes these people travel and work abroad. Sometimes in this day and age, they work online and most of their clients are abroad. So that might be interesting for Aries to see as well. Aries also has a strong line between her Mercury and Apollo. So, like, I already have it drawn on here. I'll make a figure. Between the Mercury and Apollo there, okay? Between the Mercury and Apollo, Aries also has a strong line on her right hand. So it's on her right hand. This suggests she's able to succeed in business. But unlike Shweta, okay, so we did see this in Shweta, Aries has flat mounds. So the mounds are those fleshy bits underneath the fingers, the mounds, like on the picture. You can see mount, I'm saying mount, but it's mount. So Mount Mercury, Mount Apollo, Mount Saturn. Aries mounts are very flat, okay? So it does suggest that she's able to succeed in business, but it also suggests that she may need to work harder, or there may just be a lot of work left to do. So at this moment in time, there's a lot of work to do. There could be, work ahead, a path ahead that includes a lot of work. Tapping into her creativity and smartness is definitely needed. So I don't know if smartness is a word, cleverness. So tapping into your creativity and your cleverness is really needed, Aries, because you have that ability to succeed in business, but your mounts are a bit flat. So in Shweta, the mounts are quite defined, quite raised, which would suggest that it will be a bit easier for Shweta to succeed in business, because her mounts are already quite raised. you may find if we were to do this reading again in, let's say, like a year or so, we may notice that Aries' months are a lot more defined and a lot thicker, and that'll be because she's put in that hard work. So yeah, sorry that I almost missed some of Aries there, but we'll go back to Miss Venus now if we can. I think we can. So yeah, so I really liked Aries' hand. I really like how we all have a difference in opinion of what type of hand she is as well, because I really thought she was a fire hand, but you know, we can perceive. It would be easier if it was in person and we could really see her hand. So Miss Venus, here we go. Okay, so Aries says, that's the stage I'm in now. Entrepreneurship through my Reiki business, yes. And I do also think that I found it interesting because, don't forget, I'm looking at these, researching what they mean, and then writing it up in my little, if you look, I have like a little Word document with everything in. And I know that Aries is making an online business, but I didn't make that up about the amounts. That's really true. So I found it interesting that it does resonate. I love you, Kidda. I love you too. I can't wait to see you on your reading, which will be very soon. It will be very soon. Okay, so we now have Miss Venus up here. So we have money line only on the right hand, but she's left-handed because the less dominant hand, so again the money line, the one straight down the middle, that not a lot of people have, and it tends to be faint. Okay, so she has it only on the right hand, but she's left-handed because the less dominant hand is what God gives you. The dominant hand is what you do with it. So it's interesting that she only really has a money line on her right hand because it suggests potential for money that hasn't been actualized or manifested, or there may be difficulty in fully manifesting this, but the potential is there. Okay, the money line on the right hand is showing you that the potential is there. It's giving you that push. The potential's there. Actualize it, manifest it. The gods have said it's possible. But there is also another line parallel to the money line, which is known as the sun line. Now, I don't know if you can fully see this. So let's see if I can. It looks like it's on her right hand. So let me just see. Miss Venus right. If I can just make this bigger just so you can see it for now. So I don't know if you can see my arrow. That would be really helpful. But if you can see the fate line, if you can see the fate line and understand where it is based on what I've been saying, which is the fate line, the money line, the very straight central one. If you look at Miss Venus's hand, she has one kind of parallel to it, kind of next to it, okay? And this suggests a change of career. So this could be where the opportunity for more money comes in through choosing this new career. So the sun line suggests a change in career. We also see the money line stops beneath the wisdom or head line. So that's the same thing, wisdom, headline, which suggests a lot of this is within her control as well. So we have another person here who could be quite in control of their life path and of what they do. So there is some level of, you have this higher upper hand. So, you know, you may have, it may be because you have skills, it may just be because you're very sociable and a people person, whatever it is, there's a slight upper hand there. So she may become self-employed or just have opportunities presented to her quite easily, where she has a lot of choice or the upper hand, like I said. But remember, this is all the less dominant hand, which suggests it needs to be actualized and brought to the forefront. So this is another one where if she takes a career change, if she pushes herself to something else, some new manifestation, we may see in a year's time or so that she also has a fate line on her dominant hand as well. When we see major differences on two hands like Miss Venus, it suggests someone who has worked very hard on themselves and self-improvement, or changed a lot over their lifetime. So Miss Venus says, I believe I have this line on both hands, but one is a bit more defined to me. Okay, so the one that's a bit more defined is probably the one that I'm seeing, but that's good. If it's in both hands, it's a bit better because it's more opportunity and it's more ability for that opportunity to be actualised. But where it's fainter, when you take that opportunity and you go with it, you may notice that that line gets stronger over time, because lines and our mounts all change over time. If we were to do this reading again in a couple of years, you would see people with much more defined mounts, people with lines that we didn't really see before, or you guys with the crosses where I didn't see because they're very faint in the pictures. Your cross might be more defined as well because you're all on a very spiritual path. But yes, it does look like Miss Venus does a lot of work on self-improvement or spiritual work. She does a lot of self-improvement or a lot of spiritual work because she does have quite a lot of differences in the hands. Even if the only differences are that in one hand it's very faint and in one hand it's not, we're still being shown that she's done a lot of work. She's done a lot of work, whether it's spiritual or self-improvement. So looking back at fingernails, okay, so like I said, very grateful for those who sent the back of their hands, because fingernails can tell a story. Someone who chooses to have long fingernails, or even someone whose fingernails grow quite quickly, is often calm, mild-tempered, open and honest, and sometimes very to the point, but also imaginative and creative. Miss Venus has quite deep and wide lines. So your lines, the lines that you do have very deep and wide, are the major lines. So the heart line, the head line, and the lifeline are very defined. And this suggests that she may have very strong likes and dislikes, and she may know exactly what she wants. She may understand her self-worth, and she may set good boundaries with people. Okay, so Sid says, I sadly have to go now, so I'll have to rewatch and won't be able to ask questions, but thank you for the reading and I hope you have a lovely night, Venus and Leon and everyone else. We all hope that you have a very wonderful night as well. Good night and blessings to you. I hope to see you very soon, and I'm glad that you enjoyed your reading regardless of not being able to stay till the end. If you do wish to catch up and watch the end, just remember that you were at Miss Venus, and you can put a comment with any questions that you have as well. So Miss Venus has a heart line that reaches up between her index and middle fingers. So it reaches up between her index and middle fingers here, okay? Most of you have this, most of you that I saw, but not all of them quite reach, or some do, but they're much fainter between the fingers like mine. So mine does slightly reach, but it's very, I know I've drawn on it now, but mine's very faint where it reaches, okay? Miss Venus's, it does go fainter at the end, which is common, but it's pretty defined and you can see where it goes. This shows a good balance between ego and consideration for others. So like we said earlier about the fingernails, no, sorry, not about the fingernails, about the deep lines where she sets good boundaries. So she has a good balance between her own ego, which allows her to be self-confident, set boundaries with others, and also her consideration for others. So it doesn't suggest that her ego's too big. It's a good balance. She has a good balance. She's thoughtful towards others, but not to the point of being walked over. She has a good balance and connection to her own ego, which is very, very good. I will post the picture of the fire and water hands, and you can all decide and choose which hand you think you have, because I think that's Sid's question. Okay, so I hope, Miss Venus, I hope you enjoyed that reading. We're going to move up to Risha's now. Oh my god, it won't move up. Okay, there we go. Technical difficulties. So Risha, very interesting hands we have here, because we're looking again. And so I'm very grateful for those who sound like fingernails, the backs of your hands and all of that. So Miss Venus says, definitely, even as a supervisor at work, I'm very kind and fair-minded. And I would guess that from the hands as well. I would guess that. Good night, Sid. So Risha's fingertips are quite square in shape, which signifies that she is down to earth, but also capable and practical. She would not completely shy away from manual labour if needed, and she may be into a hands-on job or even a hobby like gardening or cooking. She may have a very stable life, or at least crave to have a very stable life, and she may fear change. People with square fingertips tend to stick to a certain job, location or partner for a very long period of time. They are quite committed. They're very committed people. We also see, for the first time quite clearly, we could get a picture of it actually, showing it a little bit more, so I would choose maybe this one. Let me just make it a bit bigger, see if you can see what I'm talking about here. So try and kind of point, do you know what, I'll show them on my own hand, so I'll draw them in. So I have quite a thin one as well. So here, you see, we have these lines. A lot of you have them, but depending on how defined they are and how they go. So if you see mine, it goes up a bit in the centre and then comes back down. That's how mine goes. And they're called raquettes or bracelets. And they show the health of our stomach. Sometimes there is chaining in this line, or a slight upward arch. So chaining would be where it kind of looks almost like a chain. It may be like I've drawn there, like that. So it may almost look like circles, or it may be quite crossed, but the cross looks a bit like a chain. So if you can see there. So these raquettes or bracelets show the health of our stomach. Sometimes there is chaining in this line, or a slight upward arch. So we did see on mine quite an upward arch. I have more of an upward arch than Risha has. This can be guidance to keep an eye on the health of the liver, stomach, intestine, bladder or reproductive organs. Mine points up to the base of my palm, as do Risha's. And Risha's does a little, so not as much as mine. So me and Risha may be called to pay more attention to our health in these areas, much more than, let's say, Husky Lady, who we haven't gotten to yet, but she has very fine, if any, bracelets, okay? So if you don't have any, it can be an indication that your liver, intestine, reproductive organs, your stomach are quite healthy. And it doesn't mean that every single person with an upward bracelet or even with bracelets will have these issues, but you may be more prone to them. So you may want to kind of take a bit more care, you know, take some supplements, or just be a bit more careful of those areas. From the pictures I received, I would say that Risha has an air hand. So let's see if everyone agrees. Let's see if you guys agree that Risha has... Should I put it back in the right place? So let's see the hand map. Do we think that Risha has... Oh no, that's the wrong one. Do we think that Risha has an air hand? What do we think? So you guys let me know if you agree about the air hand, and I will read the traits of an air hand as I'm waiting for my slow YouTube. So the traits of an air hand are innovative, practical, strong intuition, logical, reasonable, social, inquisitive, and easy to get along with. Now, I would definitely say that Risha is easy to get along with. She also has quite wide fingernails. And why? So we see the thumb. She's given us a very good, clear picture of her thumb. This suggests that she's very reliable. So we do feel that Risha is very reliable with those wider fingernails there. Risha also has a very faint money line. In fact, it's difficult to tell if the line is a money line or if it's a different line, such as a sun line, like Miss Venus had, I think, which can suggest she may become self-employed again. We do see this a lot with you guys. Or even she may marry into money, okay? With how Risha's line is, it looks like there's barely any fate line. And like there may be a sun line instead of a money line. A money or fate line, it's the same thing. This suggests that she may marry into money. Especially if it's a sun line, which it looks like it is. It indicates success. So the success in some way. So because it looks more like she doesn't have a money line, but she has a sun line, it's more likely that she will marry into money or marry someone where, let's say, she doesn't have to worry about money too much. Hello, Elena Robertson. Hello and welcome. You can be added onto the next list. If you go to my first community tab post, you will see a post where you can comment on to be added to another list for another palm reading. Because I get the palms in advance and I research them and I write a bit about them. So I do need the palms in advance. I can't add anyone to this list because I'm learning palm reading myself. I'm doing it in advance. But Elena, you're very welcome to join. Just subscribe and comment on the community tab post and you will get a reading. You will be added to a post. Everyone who wants a reading will get one. They are free, but you do need to book. They fill up, and I accept about, in a reading like this where it takes quite long, I do only have 12 people on. So please do subscribe and comment on the community tab post. You'll be added to the next available session for you. And guys, anyone who's in here who has not yet liked the video, please do like the video. It would mean a lot to me. We only have 16 likes at the moment. Okay, so Kevin says it does look like an air hand to me, which yes, I agree. I do believe that Risha's hand looks like an air hand. Oh my gosh, I've lost the document. Right, bear with me. So we were up to Risha. So I actually didn't believe Risha's in, which is unusual. She usually is in. But she can watch back, and that's totally fine. It was quite interesting. Interesting reading on Risha's hand there, so she can always watch back. That's fine. So let's see who's next then. Let's take Risha off. I'm glad that Kevin agreed. Well, I think he did agree with me. Yes, on our hand. There we go. Oh, I don't know why. Right, there we go. We have Risha, we have Megha next. There we go. Just have a drink. Elena, please do comment on the community tab post. Let me just double check who's commented on that. Don't forget to subscribe if you're requesting to join on the next one. Please do subscribe. Okay, so we have Megha now. She was in earlier. Hopefully she's still here now. Because this is an interesting one. Because what we see, so I was looking for this to see if I could find it in anyone's hand. You guys still watching? I do believe that some of you will have it. It's probably just not as defined. So Megha seemed to have the most clear one. So I will just make... let me just see which one's kind of clearer and better. I think the... What's that? That's the right. I think the right hand is a little bit clearer here. So I'll try and show you. It's a bit difficult. Oh no, that's definitely big enough. So if we see the thumb, so if we see her thumb and we see where it begins there, so what the line we're kind of looking at here, show it on mine, is, oh gosh, it's really overexposed. So we're looking at this line here. You can see it, the thumb line here. So a lot of you will have this, what I'm going to talk about now, but it's just not very clear in your pictures. So Megha has the family chain. That's what it's called, the family chain. And it's just there on the thumb, like I drew myself. You may be able to see it a bit clear on her picture there. So yes, so I tried to see who had this line more pronounced, and I do feel it was Megha. But look at your hand and see how pronounced yours is. Everyone has the line, but the idea of the line is it's chained. So like I said, it's kind of, it's not a straight line. It has kind of, I drew them here. It has kind of a chain shape, or if you look at my ring finger there, it has a bit of a chain shape, kind of a crisscross shape, and that's called the family chain. It's the last line that separates the base of your thumb from your palm. The more this line looks like a chain or a lot of overlapped crosses, the more emotionally connected you are said to be to your family. Sometimes the line starts out chained and becomes unchained towards the end. So sometimes it starts out very chained and then it just goes into a kind of defined line, just a straight line. This shows the gradual detachment from the family through age. So you may find you are very emotionally connected to your family in your childhood and all of that. Then the line gradually comes out to just be a line. So it's a chain here, very chained. Then it comes out and it gradually becomes just a line here. And that's as you gradually release that emotional connection to your family. Not all of us do. Some of us keep that chain all the way around because we remain very emotionally connected to our family. It's also important to note that in some practices, they call the ring finger the Venus finger. So here, and most commonly, we call it the Apollo finger. So the Apollo finger is what we more commonly call that. But in some practices, they do call it the Venus finger. So if you hear me say the Venus finger, I'm talking about the ring finger, much more commonly called the Apollo finger. So Megha has a small Venus or Apollo finger. She has a small one. Small is defined by the ring finger being lower than the nail bed of the middle finger. So if your ring finger is lower than the nail bed of your middle finger, it suggests that you don't fear showing your emotions and caring for people brings you satisfaction. This is the case for Megha. So we can say that Megha does not fear showing her emotions and caring for people brings her satisfaction. Megha's thumb also seems to naturally point outwards. If we look, let's minimize this picture. Just put that there. Well, let's just maximize this one. Oh, that's the wrong one. Someone else's. So let's just maximize this picture for now. If we look at this picture, it makes it seem like, and also if you look at the back, the pictures of the back of her hand as well, it makes it seem like her thumbs naturally point outwards. So there's one picture where her thumb isn't pointing outwards, but in the other three, it is. So it looks like her thumb naturally points outwards. This suggests that she rules with her heart. So again, it's really affirming this emotional aspect of Megha, perhaps being very emotionally connected to her emotions. So she rules with her heart. She listens to what others say. So not everyone can say that they have the trait of being a good listener, but Megha seems to be a good listener. She may at times be too concerned about what others think. That's the kind of downside of it. So she's a very good listener, but she may worry a little bit about what others think about her. Megha does have quite a few lines on both palms, which suggests she's creative and intelligent, but she may be a little emotional. So when we have a lot of lines on our palm, it tends to mean that we have kind of more nervous energy or more emotional energy. I have a lot of lines on my palm, and that is because I do have a lot of or when I was younger, I had a lot of nervous energy. So that is defined by my palm, and it can be either or. You can have a lot of emotional energy or a lot of nervous energy. If we look at Megha's love line, so like I said, love line, top one here, that goes underneath, underlines the fingers, if you will. This one, the heart line. It's very short and it doesn't reach up to the fingers like most of the rest of you. So with Megha, what I noticed was Megha and Luna, both together, their love line didn't really reach to the top of their fingers like most of you. Their love line doesn't curve up too much to their fingers, and this suggests they may have difficulty fully expressing their emotions and deepest thoughts. So they may feel like they have to kind of hold back their deeper thoughts. They may be people who are very good at like that, that kind of, what do they call it, small talk. So they may be very good at making friends. They may be good at small talk. They may be good at talking about specific things, like I'm doing now. I'm just talking specifically about palm reading, so it might be easier for Megha or Luna if they had a thing like this and they were just talking about a certain topic. But talking about their deeper things and their emotions may be a bit more difficult. Talking about their inner desires may be more difficult. They would probably yearn to be loved and desired. So it may be the case where I said that they have difficulty in expressing emotions, that may be within a relationship. So it may be that, perhaps to their closest friends, they're very good at expressing their emotions, their deeper feelings, but in a relationship they may not be. They may really seek and yearn to be loved and desired, and they may not always feel that they're getting that from their partners. They may prefer to be approached by the partner, or for the partner to express their love first. So if the partner was to express their love first, Megha or Luna may feel a bit more comfortable in then expressing their emotions. And this can sometimes be because of childhood, something that's happened in childhood. It could not be like a huge like trauma, but it could be just a parent who's a little bit not very expressive in their emotions, maybe. Doesn't mean that they've had anything serious in their childhood, but there could just be a little bit of a lack of fully showing emotions there. And so they feel more comfortable if their partner expresses first, if their partner, expresses their deeper emotions, deeper thoughts first. That seems to be how these kind of people with that line go within our lives. So that was for Megha. So I hope you appreciate that reading, and if you can, stick around for the rest because they may resonate with you as well. I think it's interesting that I only found one mystery cross, but then it turns out a few of you do have the mystery cross, so I think that's quite nice. So we're up to Mandy now. Mandy, okay, we're getting there. Okay, so we have Mandy's hand there. Very interesting, Mandy's hand, because she doesn't have a lot of lines. So like I said, those with loads of lines, they can be very emotional energy or very nervous energy. But those with barely any lines can often be very self-assured or self-confident and things like that. Know what they want kind of thing. So we'll see what Mandy's palm says. We have a few notes on Mandy's palm here. You're welcome, Megha. You're very welcome. So I hope is Mandy in? I'm going to go ahead with it anyway because people who aren't and can just watch back. But I was just wondering if we'd seen Mandy at all. Oh, Mandy. Hello, welcome. Yes, so Miss Venus says her mounts are prominent. Yes, so we're going to get to that. So that's interesting. Not a lot of lines to look at, but a lot of mounts to look at. So I may have to get up actually, yes, I think I'll put the hand map up for this one just so you can have your reference. I did send this to all of you, so I do hope you're utilising it. But Mandy's hand is very interesting because she has hardly any lines. Her hand is quite smooth. This could suggest she's quite set in her ways. She may be very sociable and outgoing. Having many lines, unlike Mandy, would usually suggest a lot of nervous energy, or someone who is more impressionable or sensitive. So like we said with Megha, that emotional energy, someone who's sensitive, very, very empathetic. That's not to say that Mandy isn't empathetic, by the way, but it's just not shown by the lines in her hand. So it's also important to note that lines can change over time. So like I said before, if we were to look back at these palms in a couple of years, we may notice some more faint lines that didn't show up much on the picture, may be more defined, or the lines that were quite defined may be much fainter in a future reading, or even a new line that wasn't there before at all. Few lines may suggest that she's quite practical. On Mandy's left hand, on the Mount of Luna, so we do have the picture up, if you guys can see it, the Mount of Luna is that one kind of very low down towards the arm, but underneath the pinky finger. If you go quite far down, the Mount of Luna there, we can see a via lasciva. Okay, so she's the only person with this. I'm going to comment it in the chat just in case anyone does want it, because I may not be pronouncing it exactly correct, but this is what I spelled it right, and this is what Mandy has. Okay, a via lasciva. So I do believe she's the only one in the group with this. In physical health, this can suggest, so I don't know if any of you can see it. Let's just see. What did I say? It was on the left hand. It's very difficult to see, but you can if you look very closely. So I'll just make her left hand a bit bigger to begin with. If you can see it there. Can anybody see it? It's it's right above the and. Now, if you look at the and on the banner, it's right above the and on the banner, just in case anyone does want to see that. So it's called the Via Lasciva, and I do believe she was the only person with it, unless anyone has it very faintly. So in physical health, this can suggest allergies to certain food, medication, or alcohol. Or looking at the personality, it can mean the person really needs something exciting to look forward to. This person, bear with me, this person can sometimes be a thrill seeker, an adrenaline junkie, or simply someone who loves to travel and try new things. It's interesting in comparison to the lack of lines that usually suggests being set in her way. So it can even mean that the person has an abundance of energy as well. So sometimes people with this line are very energetic. So perhaps Mandy likes routine in her home life, something stable and secure to come back to after her adventures. So she could be someone who loves to go on holiday a lot, I want at least 2 holidays a year kind of person, at the very minimum. But she does like to have that nice secure home to come back to when she comes back. So yeah, so she could be someone who likes to ensure she goes on holiday as much as possible, but also enjoys that nice stability to return to. More on the side of the palm area, and many of us have travel lines. So let me just minimise her hand again. I hope you did see that line. But I will just show you now. I will take the hand map off. And I'll show you where the travel lines are as well in the hands. So it'd be interesting to know if Mandy specifically has any of these, since her palm seems to indicate that she might like to go away. So I'll draw over mine. I do have a few. So these are actually the ones I do have. If you can see them. These ones at the bottom you're looking at here, not the top ones there. There, on this part of the palm, they are called travel lines. So you can check your hands, see how many travel lines you have. Sometimes there are only a few, and they represent the places that had a profound effect on you. So if any of you are like travellers and you think, well, that can't be right because I only have a few and I've been millions of places, it's the places that had a very profound effect on you. The places where you might have really thought about yourself living there while you were there, But also, sometimes if there are many lines, so probably maybe my amount or maybe a bit more than my amount, may suggest restlessness. So people who are quite restless as well. Mandy's inner Mount of Mars, so put the hand map back up so you can see. Mandy's inner Mount of Mars, which is just above the base of the thumb. If you see, there's an upper Mars and a lower Mars. So the inner Mars will be the lower Mars there, I believe. Inner Mount of Mars, just above the base of the thumb. Yes. So it's the lower Mars that we're looking at there. It seems to be quite raised and defined, and this suggests that she's courageous. So Mandy's a very courageous person. Sometimes the courage that these people have, who have this mound, isn't realised until they are in a very difficult situation. So Mandy might be kind of umming and ahhing about whether she is a very courageous person. She may surprise herself with her level of courage when backed into a corner. Okay, so if she gets put into a very difficult situation, a situation that like a fight or flight situation, she may be surprised at her level of courage. So don't worry if that courage thing doesn't stand out too much to you, because it may do in certain situations in life. So I would say that pretty much all of Mandy's mounts are quite raised. The mount of Jupiter, which is just under the index finger, indicates that she strives for abundance or spiritual growth. So it can be someone who strives for monetary abundance, and it can be someone who strives for spiritual abundance as well. She's quite active about setting goals and achieving them. Whether they are personal, spiritual, or work related, she's active about it. So she's proactive, she sets goals, and she puts steps in place to achieve them as well. The mount of Saturn is the flesh below the middle finger, and this is usually the least raised and the least defined, but it's definitely somewhat noticeable on Mandy's hand, which is interesting. It's because out of all the mounts on anyone's hand, it's usually the least noticeable. So it shows strength and commitment to duties and responsibilities. So Mandy may be quite a thorough person, and she may have good attention to detail, and she may also be a very good worker. So if someone employs Mandy, she's probably going to go above and beyond and be quite committed to her duties and responsibilities, like I said. So on Mandy's right hand, let's see, should I just expand it a little bit? Oh no, you can't really see. Mandy's right hand, her headline, so yeah, maybe you can see that. The headline, don't forget, it's that second one. So, show you on my hand here. So, the headline is that one, the one underneath the cross there. So we have her headline there. Her pictures aren't totally clear just because of the light. There's quite a lot of light. But on Mandy's right hand, her headline is slightly more defined than her heartline, which suggests she has the ability to think logically in emotional situations. So if your headline is a bit more defined than your heartline, then you it doesn't mean you're not an emotional person, it doesn't mean you're not a loving person, but it does mean that you can think logically in emotional situations. So she's not as likely to be manipulated in like a love situation, or emotionally manipulated, you know. She's she can be logical, even if she's in that honeymoon period, she's head over heels. She's more likely to be logical than most people. She's more likely to still step in to her logical self and think about things. She may not let her heart and her emotions influence her path too much. So very interesting hand there, with much more of the mounds going on. Mounts, I keep saying mounds. Much more of the mounts going on than lines, which I found very interesting. So let's move now into Husky Lady. So I'll just move the hand map for a second. Maybe we might need it back. Okay, so we have some of Husky Ladies here. I didn't think about making them really big at the time when I did this, so let's just, maybe that will do. Yeah, it's a bit better. Okay, so this is interesting. Husky Lady's hands are very interesting. So if you look at the only one I haven't drawn. So this is the lifeline, the one that kind of hugs the thumb, okay? That's the lifeline. And if we look at Husky Lady, she has what looks like two lifelines. One is the lifeline, and that inner one that we see So I'll try and point to it. No, I'll draw it on my own hand. So that is her lifeline, as you can see, the one that I've drawn. Then she has one that's slightly more in like this. If you can see it, if anyone can see it. So she has one that's slightly more in like that. So her lifeline there. And then the other one there. Okay, that one. Ah, that one. You can see it there. The one that's slightly more in. Lifeline. The other line. There. So that is called the line of Mars. It shows a strong character with a strong life, with support from family or spirit guides. She may often recover quickly from illness or beat the odds. So when when a doctor says or someone says there's a very small chance of this, she's very likely to beat the odds. Determination and willpower are seen in this line. Also, judging by where the line starts, it would suggest that these traits were formed between the age of 10 and 20 as well. So it does look like there's a period of time between the age of 10 and 20 where this kind of willpower, the strong character was kind of built, okay? So when we see a line, we can age it. To a certain degree. Like I said, we don't know exactly the age when people are going to die, but we can kind of age the lines. And by aging this line, I could tell that between 10 and 20 is when Husky Lady began to have these traits. Sometimes that's an event on the life path that brings about these traits. Something that happened where she may have learned some personal strength, personal courage kind of thing. Maybe connecting with spirit guides was her event. Husky Lady's lifeline covers the whole of her palm, which suggests she is very good with children and happy to help those in need. If we look at Husky Lady's little finger, which is the Mercury finger, we can see that it's quite long. It pretty much seems to reach the top knuckle of the ring finger, and that's considered a long little finger. This suggests she is optimistic and adventurous. She is also very likely a good singer or musician of some kind. People with this length little finger are usually musical. They can learn instruments or perfect their singing voice a lot quicker and easier than most others. And they may be drawn to a job that involves music in some way. She also has a defined mount between her little finger, the mount of Mercury. Beneath her little finger, sorry. She has a defined mount beneath her little finger, the mount of Mercury. This suggests she is very aware and interested in the world around her. She enjoys competition, but she is also affectionate and entertaining. So I'll just get up that mount of Mercury there. So that is where... That's the defined mount that she has. But below the little finger there, the mount of Mercury. So she is aware of the world around her, enjoys competition, but is affectionate and entertaining. So when we have people that are affectionate but also enjoy competition, that's a healthy kind of competition, someone who's very it's fun competition. They're not like trying to get one over on you, basically. That's what we see with Husky Lady. On Husky Lady's right hand particularly, she seems to have quite a firm mount of Mars. So the mount of Mars, you can see there. Between her head and her heart line. So it's the upper Mars, I'm talking about. If you look at this picture, it's the upper Mars. So she has quite a defined upper Mars, defined upper amount of Mars, which is between the head and the heart line. This shows she has stamina, and because it's firm on one hand rather than the other, it shows she has learned to be a good judge of character. Because remember, the differences in the hands show self-improvement and spiritual growth. So she's a good judge of character, but it's because she's learned to be. So there's a learning there. So that's how we can clearly see how people can change their hands, their lines and their mounts by learning things, by growing, by life experience and things like that. So very interesting there. And then last but certainly not least, we have Tamana here. Hello Info Entertainment. You will not get a chance during this stream. This is a pre-booked stream because it's pre-prepared. I do the reading, I write up the readings of the hands before the stream. So if you comment on the community tab post, you can get a reading in another stream, but you will not just get one here in this stream, unfortunately. Very sorry about that. But these are pre-planned, pre-booked streams. Everyone's welcome, everyone can have a reading, but you just have to book on. There we are. We have Tamana's hands there. So we have a faint creativity line on the right hand under the pinky and ring finger. It signifies talent for creativity and originality. Okay, so a faint creativity line there. So you can probably see it. It is under the pinky and ring finger on her right hand. So it's just kind of here. It's kind of a line here. And it's, did I show? Kind of like in this area. And that shows talent for creativity and originality. Tamana has quite a small Jupiter finger, which is the index finger. I'll put the map back on just so you can refer to it. So she has quite a small Jupiter finger, which is the index finger, which may suggest she prefers to follow rather than lead. Sometimes this can manifest as seeking a partner who is more in control. She may be sensitive and empathetic, hate suffering, and gain more satisfaction than the average person by helping others. So she may want her partner to be a little bit more in control, and she may be a lot more empathetic than the average person. There's a lot more empathy than the average person. So it's not necessarily a sign of a submissive person, although it can be. Sometimes the person is just, like I said, highly empathetic. They seek to serve others in a charitable way. They probably really enjoy, it's not to say that they won't seek abundance or anything like that, but in their free and spare time, they may enjoy things that are charitable, giving back. They may even be a nurse or a carer, or some kind of role that's very helpful to others. They may kind of see their work life as being something that's helpful to others, or they may be charitable in their spare time, or the charitable nature may just be with friends, with people they meet. It doesn't necessarily mean giving to charity, but very empathetic person. Similar to Mandy, Tamana has quite a defined amount of Luna. You can rarely see it on her left hand. This indicates she is confident and aspiring. She may have big dreams, and if she breaks them down into small steps, she will be very capable of achieving them. She also strives for abundance alongside spiritual growth. So there we have the seeking abundance and seeking spiritual growth as well. So that goes with the empathetic nature. You may want to have nice things, nice material things, but you will never completely part from your wanting to be spiritual and empathetic and kind and compassionate, you know. So on Tamana's left hand, we can see her love line reach right up to the index finger. It's slightly past the gap between the fingers and reaching more to the actual base of the finger. So I will show you what I mean there. So most love lines, like my diagram here, most love lines go between these two fingers. It comes down, up, and it goes between those two fingers. Tamana's seems to reach a little bit further over to the index finger. It's not quite here, but it does reach a bit further over than most people, okay? The end position of the love line is quite important, and it would be interesting to know which is Tamana's dominant hand here, as that suggests there, on the left hand, that she can feel let down by others, and it requires her to stay optimistic and to not focus on the opinions of others. But if the left is less dominant, it could indicate that these worries are quite subconscious. So there may just be a little bit of subconscious worry about others and feeling let down, you know. There might be a kind of deflated feeling, and this does come like it's very resonating with the fact that she's very charitable, very giving, very empathetic. When you're very charitable, giving and empathetic, not everyone's like that. So sometimes, even if it's only subconscious, you will feel let down by others because they're just not at your level of empathy, you know. Even if they're good people, your level of empathy is here and theirs may be here, and whether it's subconscious or not, you will feel let down by people in life because they're just not at your level of empathy. So where if they're in a really bad place, you'll give them everything because you're so empathetic. If you're in a really bad place, they may just not give you quite as much as you might expect because they're not as empathetic as you. So Tamana has quite a strong headline, which again, headline is the middle one. So this one is the headline. This one is the headline. This one, am I pointing to it? I can't see because the light. This one is the headline. This one here. Just want to make sure that I'm putting it up properly. That's the headline. Okay. On Tamana's... Oh, she has a strong headline, especially on her right hand, which is especially good if this is her dominant hand. So yes, right hand dominance. Okay, that's really good. So do just be aware, if someone isn't as empathetic as you are in a negative situation, you might give a lot to other people, they might not give back to you. You might feel a bit low, but not really realise why you're feeling low. It may not be like, they're not giving me this, I feel like crap. It may be a bit subconscious because it's on your left hand. So just kind of try to be aware that not everyone's as empathetic as you. But getting back to the headline. So the headline, especially on her right hand, which she has now confirmed is her dominant hand, it reaches both edges of her hand, which shows dedication to learning or willingness to learn new things and be open to new things. She may be strongly opinionated on some things, but she believes in equality overall. She is quite logical and grounded most of the time, and it may take practice to fully tap into the imagination. So you have abilities, creative imagination abilities, but you're very logical. You have a very logical ability. You have good cognitive function. It's your headline. It's really strong. So you'd be really good at learning new things. If you've never tried to learn a new language or learn an instrument or anything you want to learn, you know, at any stage in your life, if you want to learn, it does show very good cognitive ability, cognitive function, and you probably have a better focus than most people as well, especially these days with people on TikTok not having a very great focus. You will have a better focus than those people. But it may take practice to fully tap into your imagination. You can, but it may take practice because you have a very, dominantly, you're more logical. Tamana's lines, especially the headline, are very different on each hand. So as I said again, this indicates a lot of growth. She likely works on herself a lot, whether it's physically, mentally or spiritually. You definitely work on yourself a lot. So that's really great. Having a difference in the lines on each hand is a very good thing, because it shows how much you've learned and progressed and grown as a person. So yeah, so I think we only have 5 people in now. I'm glad you all got a bit of a reading. Tamana says it resonates, so that's great. Yeah, that's really great. I'm so glad that you all had at least a few lines and amounts that were very interesting to look at and to point out. Very, very grateful. So I know there aren't many people in now, but I will just go over the next streams just in case for anyone who is still here. So on the 27th, which is only in 3 days, we have the crystal ball. So I know that everyone loves the crystal ball stream. Oh, got rid of the banner there. Did I? So I know that a lot of you really love crystal ball. On the 27th, we have a crystal ball stream. So hopefully you will be present for that. Don't know what happened to it. Not that I don't really need it anymore anyway, but oh well. There it is. Okay, so we have Crystal Ball and Tarot, which is on the 27th, so please do join me for that. We have Room Reading, so we have Room Reading on the 28th. Now, Room reading is not a book on stream. It's first come, first serve. Whoever's in the stream can have a rune. You don't have to book. Yes, Info Entertainment, I am done with that. So on the 30th, we have a giveaway, 600 subs giveaway. So we have 600 subscribers. We're having a giveaway on the very last day of this month. Do comment. So there's an official post on the YouTube community tab, go and find it. There's an official post on Facebook. If you're on Facebook, go and find it. Anyone who comments on that post is entered into the prize draw, whether you're live or not. So as long as you comment on that post, you will be entered and you will be in the prize draw, and it will be drawn on the 30th. We'll have 2 winners. We get 2 winners and you choose your prize. On the 5th of October, another crystal ball and tarot, which I know you love. On the 12th of October, we have Channeled Soulmate, Channeled POI messages. And there's a lot of people booked onto that. We have at least 20, so that's going to be a very long stream. But I'm looking forward to it. It should be fun. On the 13th of the 10th, not fully booked yet, we have Starseed Origin reading. If you have not had a Starseed Origin reading yet, please do join on. It's a lot of fun to know who you're drawn to and who your origin is, and it's usually the one that you're drawn to, I meant to say. 18th of October, another Crystal Ball and Tarot, which you guys love. And the 26th of the 10th, the next past life reading stream. Do you want your past life read? Go ahead and book onto that. Another Crystal Ball and Tarot on the 27th of October. So I know you guys love the Crystal Ball and Tarot, so I'm trying to do it as regularly as possible. 27th of October, we have another one. 27th, wait, are they on the same day? We have a dream interpretation stream that may have to rebook because it looks like they're both booked on the same day. But yes, we have a dream interpretation stream. If you've had any interesting or spiritual or symbolic dreams, send them in and I will interpret them for free on stream. And then the 3rd of November, I know it's a very long way away, but it's the next aura reading stream. And a lot of you, pretty much all of you have had an aura reading very recently. That's why it's so far away. I don't want everyone to book on and have the exact same auras that they had last month. That's why the aura reading stream is very far away, but should show some differences because it's so far away. So I've made a bit of an error in the crystal ball and the dream interpretation, so that will be rescheduled. But do send a dream in. I would love to interpret your dream for free on stream, so please do send it in. And as always, you can get in touch with me on the community tab, Facebook Messenger, email. My Facebook and email are in the description of every video. I'm always posting in the community tab. I'm always happy to answer your questions, to talk to you. I get busy sometimes, but I always reply eventually. So feel free to message me. And it's been wonderful. It's been amazing. If you are here and you have not had a reading, book on to one of the next streams. You need to send your palm in advance because what I do is I look at the palms. I try to get something a bit different from everyone's palm. I don't want, a lot of these people had the very, very similar palms. I don't want to be giving everyone the same reading. So if you look, I do a kind of a Word document of everything about each palm. I do a lot of research and I rarely type it up before the stream. That's why I'm not doing it just like kind of going with the flow and doing whoever comes in. It's definitely a book only stream. So if you haven't had a reading yet for palm reading and you'd like one, just book on and you can be on one of the next ones because we have a lot coming up. Okay, so love, light and blessings to each of you. Send me a message if you want to be on any of the upcoming streams. Just go to my homepage. And it shows upcoming live streams and there are tons of them. So enter into the prize draw and join me on my other streams. And just before I go, if anyone who is still in has not subscribed or liked the video yet, please do so now. Love, light and blessings to each of you. High five from my dummy hand. And I can't wait to see you again on the next stream.